Hey, what's up, guys? Jake here with another episode of On the Rise Music Podcast. Today, we are honored to have special guests, Kahu and Monsoon of the DJ collective, Plurthlings. Huge fan of the music. How you guys doing?
We're doing well, man. How are you doing today?
I'm all right. I mean, it's quarantine, but I'm doing as much as I can to just keep busy and stay positive. So,
Yeah, looks like the
um,
sun is shining wherever you are. So
yeah, I'm actually down here in California in sunny Los Angeles. I mean, granted,
Nice.
we are being hit with the coronavirus like nobody's business, but I mean, the weather's nice, so why not spend the time outside? You know what I'm saying?
definitely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Just first question. Where you guys posted? Where you guys saying enjoying the summer, or it's just too hot? You guys have to stay inside.
Yeah, well, we are in Denver, so it's pretty nice here. It's been wicked hot the last like what, 2 weeks. Like our grass is all brown and it's
Oh,
like 97. Like my car was reading 97 today while I was driving around.
We're in the middle of the peak 2 months of summer right here.
Yeah.
So
that's
it's
yeah.
I'm actually from Phoenix. He's from
Oh,
Denver,
okay.
and I kind of like it when it gets a little bit hotter because
Reminds you a little bit
the
of home.
cold gets to me, man.
Oh, I
But
get it.
the
Trust me.
music
Trust me.
scene, the music scene in Denver is why we're here. Because he used to live in Phoenix. That's how we met
Oh,
at
okay.
Arizona State.
Oh, no way, dude! I actually
Yeah.
go to U of A. I'm
Oh, nice.
actually, yeah,
That's
bear
awesome.
down. um,
Nice.
so building off of that,
But my mom actually she went to U of A.
hey, there we go. Hey,
Yeah.
Wildcats forever.
So it's
Wildcats
all in the
forever.
family.
There you go. What is it? What do they say? House divided. There you go. So like building
Yeah,
off of that.
I tried not to play into that.
Yeah,
We partied down at
I
U of
used
A
to go
just the
down there to
same.
party all the
I mean, you're
time.
always welcome. I mean, guys
Yeah,
make great music. Like the scene's jumping. So hey, come on down. Like
we even played a
what we
show
got
at
planned?
Gem and Jam back
Oh, okay.
several years ago, and I used to actually live in Tucson as well. So
Oh, okay. Hey, so you're definitely familiar with the
yeah,
party scene down
all
there.
over the map between, actually we've also lived in LA.
That's
So
what's
back
up.
in
I mean, worldly
2018.
worldly dudes.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're just, LA to Denver, Vegas, Phoenix. That's like kind of our region. We love this West Coast
Okay.
vibe.
I mean, yeah,
Even
of
upwards to
course.
San Francisco and Seattle. We played a show at Seattle Hemp Fest this
Yeah,
last summer.
yeah. Now,
And it's kind of nice looking back on that because this summer there's no shows. So
oh,
it's kind
I
of like, at
know.
least we had a festival last summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you guys got that experience. So as you mentioned, you headline or yeah, you headlined Seattle Hemp Fest. How did that come about, and how crazy was that to be like now was that your first big show?
Yeah, that was our first big festival,
Yeah.
and we actually headlined the whole weekend. So
Wow.
that was a pretty surreal experience. That was kind of like the first time that like we got like the rock star treatment, where like we flew in, like we got to go like walk in like behind the scenes, like we got a golf cart. Um,
Got our lanyards. You're
Yeah.
official when you got a
yeah, it
lanyard.
was like that scene from Wayne's World.
Yeah.
But they actually
Just
let us
walking in.
backstage, which was nice.
Yeah. And we got that gig. Actually, he was scouring Sonic bids. So,
Yeah, you familiar with Sonic Bids?
Not really, no.
It's like an electronic press kit website
Oh,
for
okay.
artists to. We don't currently use it because I actually wouldn't recommend it, just to be totally blunt.
it was the
Um,
only gig that we got out of Sonic bids, but it was like the best gig to get out of Sonic bids. So,
and not to mention, I had been applying with various bands and
Mhm.
groups and music projects since 2006 to play Hempfest.
Wow, okay.
So since I was at ASU, I'd been applying to try to play Hempfest with Sonic Bids, and we finally got it. 13 years later, but it was worth it for that experience. But now that we've had that, I don't, especially with no gigs this summer. So it's
Hmm.
kind of we instead have made our own press kit now on our own
Okay.
website, and kind of
Okay.
recommend that to all the artists more, especially for electronic. Sonic
yeah.
Bit seems to be more like less for electronic artists and more for bands and
Hmm.
solo guitarists and stuff like that.
Well, and Hempfest was it was a little bit of a special thing for us because we're both pretty active like cannabis activists. Like so both of us are big advocates of using like industrial hemp
Hmm.
and all of the other thousands of reasons of what you can do with the cannabis
Of
plant.
course.
So we've been part of the legalization movement. And me being in Denver,
Hmm.
like I grew up here, so it's always been a
Oh,
topic
part of
of
your life. Yeah.
conversation, and we've always kind of been on the forefront of that subject, so it made sense to us.
Yeah, it was finally cool to play that event after hearing about it for so many years and
Hmm.
seeing some of our college favorite bands like the Cottonmouth Kings and stuff play. And finally, we got to share that same stage. It
Yeah.
kind of an interesting summer this year, but it was definitely really nice because we played at like 7 p.m. or so,
Yeah, it
right
was.
on the sunset on the water in
Ooh,
Seattle.
Yeah, so
nice.
we actually
Yeah.
we filmed it, and it's awesome because like the sun is setting like right behind the stage, and you can see the water.
Oh,
Yeah,
damn, that's
so it's really
beautiful.
awesome. And then it worked out really cool too because they actually did like a closing ceremony where they brought in some Native Americans from the
Hmm.
local area, and they did like a closing ceremony with like Native American chants and stuff. And I actually have Native American heritage,
Oh, there
so
you go.
that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that
They
sounds like
closed it down after.
yeah, I mean
Yeah,
that
it
sounds like
was a really cool experience.
yeah, and
Yeah,
and
it was a water ceremony, a water blessing
Yeah.
oh,
of
okay.
the oceans, I think.
Yeah,
It was
that
really cool.
I mean, you get everything. You get to like promote like the legalization and the use of the healthy use of like cannabis, and then on top of it, you get to include the natives in it and just pay homage and tribute to them and give them credit. I mean, that sounds like it's like a life experience in and of itself. Like there's nothing literally nothing can go wrong in that moment. And I mean, you guys have been working to get that for you said like 13 years. So I mean,
Yeah,
that's just a
I've
lesson in
been
and of
applying
itself.
on Sonic for 13 years.
Yeah, it's just a lesson in of itself. I mean, don't give up like to anybody. Like if you really
Yeah,
want to do something like and you have the determination and the will and the know how to do it, like just keep grinding and eventually good things will come. That's what I always say. The right people will find you at the right time. So
absolutely. That's why we got a song that it's called "Never Give Up." It's at the end
yep.
of our most recent album, Carmelian,
Hmm.
and the chorus is as simple as it sounds. Never give up. Just
Yes,
repeat it
sir.
until the drop. Just so people, you know it. Never
Yep,
give up.
exactly. Now,
It's not always, not always easy to follow, but
oh, definitely
you know,
not. Yeah, it's pretty difficult,
just gotta keep living it every day.
especially in times where you just beat down, and you're just like, I don't know how I'm gonna continue. Like this is, I want to give up, whatever it is, like creating music or just like I don't know, like whatever it may be that you want to get done really badly, and you just want to give up, and then but when you realize like, hey, just keep grinding, just keep doing what you're doing, like figure out what you're doing wrong and learn from it, like you're unstoppable at that point. And I mean, you
Yeah,
guys
usually you just need a good night's sleep.
maybe, yeah, that's definitely an issue. Smoke a
Usually when
blunt,
you
whatever.
wake up in the morning, you're always like, oh, I forgot about all that.
Yeah.
Totally,
Back to the
I totally
studio.
agree with that. Now you guys mentioned that you've been trying to get into the Hemp Fest for 13 years. So I'm guessing you guys have been together and making music for quite a bit. Like, when was the first time that you guys met and started really getting into production together?
So we met in 2010 through some mutual friends at ASU. So he had just graduated, and I had just finished my sophomore year of college at ASU. So I was actually in the business school at ASU. And then I started DJing. I got bored at work one day and I started messing with GarageBand on my
Okay.
laptop. And like I was hooked just instantly. So I like was putting loops together, and then I used to go to a lot of parties at ASU, and I would just kind of hover around the computer, and like because everybody always had the setup where there was like a computer next to the
Yeah.
TV with an HDMI cable. And so I just used to go to parties and hang out at the computer, and I would just like line up tabs on
YouTube tabs.
like yeah, like like YouTube tabs, and so I would like be
You haven't
mixing,
truly lived at a party unless you've done that.
and so I would be doing that. And one of my buddies, who he's actually from LA, he was like, "Hey man, I've seen you at a handful of these parties. Have you ever thought about being a DJ?" And I was just like, "What? Like that? Like a wedding DJ? Like no, I didn't know that like this world of raves and dance music, and I didn't know the scale of it." So he goes, "Here, check this out," and he pulls up a video of Dead Mouse debuting the
Mm.
original Cube at Coachella
Okay.
in 2010.
And I hadn't met him yet, and I was actually at that Coachella watching that Dead Mouse
Hey.
performance.
That's
So,
what's up.
so he goes, this is what I mean. And I was like, what is this? I like flipped my world upside down, and I started DJing, and I got really into it. I kind of like had like a life meltdown at the same time, where like me and my girlfriend had broken up. Like I was in a fraternity, and I kind of had a falling out with those guys. So I was just like really hanging out on my own a lot. And then one of my buddies, who actually from the fraternity, he saw that I was DJing a lot, and he was like, "Hey, come over to my buddy's house. We have kind of a little collective going." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." It ended up being his house. And so I went over there one time, and we hung out, and we didn't really like hang out that night. I was kind of hanging out with my buddies, but I had left my school ID at his house, and I needed it to get into my apartment. And so I called him the next day, and I was like, "Hey, can I come grab that ID?" And I went over there, and it was just him, and he had just finished making a road trip mix for EDC.
Okay.
And he was like, "I just finished this mix if you want to listen to it." And it was like a what, 4 hour mix or something like that.
Yeah.
And so we listened to the mix, and then I was like, "Oh, this is kind of cool." And like we kind of knew each other, and then we didn't really hang out again. And then me and a bunch of my friends planned our trip out to EDC, and that
2010.
yeah, in 2010. And that morning, so I had a full car of people, and that morning, one of my buddies had overslept. So I was banging on his door, and he wouldn't wake up. So I was like, all right, I gotta leave. I was sitting at the gas station. I had an open spot in my car, and then he pulled up at the gas station by himself, and he was like, "Hey, what's up, guys?" We're like, "Hey, we're on our way out to EDC," and he was like, "No way, me
Did I
too."
even know you were at the gas station, or did
No,
we just so happen to be
yeah,
at the?
we were leaving Tempe at the same time and ended up at the same gas station.
That's pretty
Wow.
And
crazy.
you
It
were
was
by
meant to
yourself.
be.
Yeah.
And so he was by himself, and so I was like,
And
"Hey,
I do not like driving, so he offered to ski. I was like, let's go put
Of
my
course,
car
yeah,
back.
let's
I'm
go.
down.
And so he jumped in the car, and we went out there, and that's a story in its own. Like, that was a pretty magical weekend. I think,
I would say the critical moment of EDM reaching into the mainstream from
yeah,
the underground rave parties was EDC 2010 at the LA Coliseum, the Memorial Col, right? Memorial Coliseum.
Yeah,
yeah.
And
the more close.
I just remember
insane.
there was like people like
And I had gone the year
jumping the
before, and it was
fences,
just
and yeah, it was
totally 10 times better
yeah.
than the year before even.
So yeah,
And then we saw Dead Mouse premiere the Cube at the EDC,
Hmm.
and he finally got to see it. And I think after that point, we were just inseparable. Like, we got to make music, we got to do this. He was the only one that really had kind of the drive that I had seen, because I had been in bands, and I had almost made, at that point, I decided that I did not want to be in a group with other people anymore, because my band members, like I went through like 6 or 7 or 8 or so band members that just all
Hmm.
just kind of were in, and then they're out, and then they got to get married and have kids, and
Yeah, it makes
I was
sense.
like, married, kids, like we could be the best band in the world if we want, let's just do this. And they just all weren't committed, and so for a couple years I was like, well, I'll just do this DJ thing, because back in 2007 I was telling my reggae rock band, I was like, hey, we should integrate dubstep. There's this new thing called dubstep coming from the UK that I just so randomly heard about on the internet. We should integrate that into our reggae rock. And they're like, no, this is dumb. It's like robot noises. And, look where it's at now.
Oh, definitely.
And so when I met him, he was the first person that was kind of like, hey, I'm down. Like, I'm going to quit school.
Yeah,
Like,
pretty much at that point, like I went to EDC in LA, and like I dropped everything to
Deep
go,
in the recession in
yeah, like
2010, you know.
go all in on music. Like I was just like I would need to do whatever I can to spend as much time in this environment.
I was just like, you know what? We're both young.
Hmm. Might
Like,
as well take
there's only so
advantage.
much time we can do this. You know, we can
Exactly.
always become lawyers or doctors or
Yeah, yeah,
whatever,
pretty much.
you know, when we're older, but you really got to do music when you're young and you're feeling it. You're feeling the vibe,
Totally.
you're in the scene and everything. And so
Yeah,
it's kind of funny that never really ended.
that's what's funny about it is so like I was in the business school. I literally had just made the dean's list. I was pre-law, like I was in the pre-law fraternity. I was gonna finish school
Damn.
and go to law school, and I really wanted to become an agent, like a
And then
talent agent.
EDC
Oh,
And then
happened.
oh
and
yeah.
then DJing and EDC happened, and I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna pursue this for a little bit, and then just along the way, like things just kept like doors kept opening like as it was happening, and it felt like it was meant to be. Whereas like
Mhm.
being in school like felt like a lot of work, and like I said, I had kind of a falling out with like my entire group of friends, and like I was in Arizona, and like I didn't have my family there,
Oh,
and
definitely.
And then, so we were actually both solo artists until 2012 that were just kind of helping each other. And then in 2012, we're like, hey, we should just be a duo.
yeah, it was when we were in LA actually. We were we went out there for a weekend in February, and we ended up staying until what, September?
Yeah.
And we were just
The age of when LMFAO Party Rock
Yeah,
Anthem was
that
top of
was
the
a great
charts.
age. That was an
Oh,
amazing
it was
age.
yeah,
a great time to
we
be in
got to see
LA.
Oh,
them like
definitely.
headline a sold out show at Staples Center, like,
That's
but it
crazy.
it
Oh
was really
my.
fun. So we were basically just like hopping from Airbnb to Airbnb, and like if we found a good deal on like a hotel, we lived at the W for like 2 weeks.
Hey,
We
okay.
lived at the Roosevelt for a week or two. We
And
and that
eventually our luck ran out, and we had to
Yeah.
move back to Arizona.
Yeah, we were hoping that we would have a breakthrough before,
We were hoping for, the typical Hollywood make it
Yeah,
story, you know.
yeah, totally. Like, oh, hey.
We were just like, hey, we got to try at least
which
once,
was it
right?
was
Oh,
kind of funny.
definitely.
So one time we were just walking through a neighborhood, and it was like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And one of our friends that we had met there, like he had this members only jacket, and he was an older guy, and he was like members only jackets like were like a thing of his childhood or
Yeah.
adolescence.
Hmm.
And so he was like really stoked on this jacket, and he gave it to me. And I put it on, and I was like walking down the street in LA, and I just remember this Mercedes with like blacked out windows like drives past me, stops, and then reverses, and the window rolls down, and this guy just go I forget what he even said, but it was something along the lines of like, "Who are you?" And I was like, I gave him my elevator pitch, and he's like, I got some people you want to meet. I'm gonna make you a star. And then we like exchanged info, and I was like, oh my God, this is it. And then we never heard from that guy again.
And that kind of situation has happened, I don't know, at least 10 to 20 times by now. Just where someone's like, you got chops, and then they never do anything about it.
Yeah.
It's like, but what really came out of that whole EDC experience, for both of us is we were like, hey, we're ravers. This is it. This is us. And over the years, we really got involved with understanding what Plur is and how we felt about that. And my background at ASU is a lot of sustainability training
Okay,
and my real estate degree. And so I always figured peace, love, unity, respect, that the best way you could live that is through sustainability.
definitely.
And so in 2014, we weren't Plurthlings yet, but we came up with that name in 2014 when we were trying to think, hey, we want a name, because we've been through tons of names, and we want a name that the people in the scene that are around us and a part of can also identify with. So it's not just our name, it's like our name.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's honestly what I got from the Plurthling. Oh shit, it was a B. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, it sounds like because it's plural. It's not just like, I mean, granted, it is two people in the group, but yeah, I like, especially reading like your Spotify bio and everything. Yeah, it sounds like you guys want to create, yeah, a unity, like between everyone that loves this movement, or like bring them all together and create like a better world, literally. I mean, I'm not that much into rave music. I dabble in a little bit here and there. My roommate is the one who like makes me listen to it. I mean, it's like, I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty good. And the whole Plur, I agree. Like why would you not want to live under peace, love, unity, and respect, like just in
We've
general?
always said that Plur could easily be bigger than the music that
Oh,
is around.
definitely.
Just like it's an ideal that any like I mean we tell our parents and some of our friends' parents and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, I get it. Peace, love, unity, respect. That's awesome."
Yeah, like when we run into like older people at the grocery store and they're like, "I like your shirt," and then we, kind of go through the whole spiel, and they go, "Well, what are you guys called?" And then we're like, "Oh, it's Plurthlings." And then they go, "Well, what does that stand for?" And then you tell somebody that doesn't have like the rave connotation that it means peace, love, unity, respect. They just get it.
Hmm. Yeah, totally. Because everyone wants to. I mean, everyone wants that. It's just like there's like a difference between people respecting it and wanting to live the whole Plur vibe, and then there's another thing where people are like, oh, it's attached to EDC or EDM. Like, oh, I don't like that music. It's like, no, no, no. It's the vibe and it's the attitude of what Plur stands for, which is what everyone wants. Just in reality, like even if you don't like the music, like eventually it's like we're all gonna live, like we should all be living in the under the Plur umbrella. So
Yeah, I think everyone wants peace, love, unity, respect. I think, or at least most people do. I hope. Uh, but I think there's maybe a difference of an opinion on how to get there, and that's where the
definitely.
issues happen. And that's why when we are creating this name, we're like, hey, Plur. How could we be more Plur to the earth? And that's what was like a light went off. And we're like Plurth, like combine the
Yeah.
two. It's and so it was kind of cool because literally that day, I remember 2014, we came up with Plurth and Plurthlings, and I Googled it, and it said zero results.
There you
You know
go.
how hard it is to get zero results on Google with just like one word. So that day, I think we bought it, but it took us 2 years, and we went to back to EDC 2016 at Vegas,
Hmm.
and kind of got reacquainted with where Plur raving was at that point because we had spent a couple years in the studio kind of avoiding paying for festivals and just putting all of our money and resources
Of
into
course.
studio gear and
Of course.
making music
Well, and we went to the first iteration of Vegas
in
and in
2011.
2011, and it was their first year there, so like 2010 was such a magical year, like the pinnacle of that event, and then they had to relocate their infrastructure, and like kind of relearn how to do it. So
Hmm.
it didn't have that same magic. So we were like, okay, well, we'll give them a couple of years to figure it out. And definitely, like I think 2016 is like when they started to hit their stride with that event, because like it was awesome. And so we did 2016, 2017, and 2018, and those were all pretty
And
pretty epic years.
2016, as kind of cheesy it is, we've already talked about LMFAO, but I'd say the moment that we were like, hey, we got to do this Plurthlings thing. This is us. Is during Marshmallow of all because in 2016 Marshmallow I think was more ravey, less like I'm a pop star,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
he really did throw down and it just really brought the kind of those just
It was so
awesome,
lighthearted.
positive, lighthearted rave vibes back when up to that point in the like I'd say 2012 to 2016, raving kind of got a little bit serious, where it's like, yeah, we rave, because it's all popular and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And Marshmello kind of oddly enough brought it back to that. I felt like that kind of pure Plur like positive vibe type stuff. Even though now he's a huge pop star, but I think say that was a huge moment for him to really get the rave community behind him. And I don't think he would be a pop star without shows like that. But in that moment, we're like, we got to be Plurthlings. This is this.
Well, because like I didn't even I knew I had heard of the hype, but I'm kind of one of those people where like when the hype starts to happen, I kind of like my guard goes up because I'm like, is
Oh,
this really
definitely.
good or is it hype? And so I had heard the Marshmallow hype going through the community, and a couple of our friends that because I actually wanted Gaia was on at the same time, Armin and his co-producer Benno, and they were on a different stage, and that's where I wanted to go, but our friends wanted to stay and watch Marshmallow, and they were like, dude, you're gonna love it, like just trust us. And I was like, all right, I'll give this a chance. And like I'm so glad that we were there. Like
Yeah,
Uh,
you just gotta be. I mean, that's really interesting. That you mentioned the whole like you kind of losing touch of what Plur really meant. Because I mean, it makes sense. You guys were really trying to make stuff, make a name for yourselves, put out some music. So yeah, it totally makes sense. And then you come back like when, and then that attitude too, and that just that mentality of like, oh, we'll just give them some space, make sure like just let everything work itself out. You come back, and then that's the moment where you're like, damn, yeah, we're totally running with Plurthlings. Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, it's honestly it's crazy to think that you guys have kind of been solely and completely driven to produce because of music you listen to. Like I've talked to different producers and stuff just on the show, and a lot of them are doing it. Yes, they have like inspiration from music from within, but it seems like you guys are just driven solely because of Plur, like just because of what it stands for. And it's interesting, and it's kind of just crazy. I've never heard anybody like to be completely honest, I haven't heard anybody talk about even producers that are just like Plur, like what it is, that's our music. And I mean,
well,
I can totally
yeah.
hear it.
That one of the honestly one of the reasons is like a couple of years ago, I think 2.5 years ago, Carnage, who's a pretty big DJ,
Yeah.
he came out and said Plur is dead, and everyone was kind of like divided on that idea. And we were told by a mentor at that time that we needed to kill our name. We needed to drop the name, do something that's less politically charged, which is so weird that Plur would even have a political charge, and because it is very
it's
yeah,
polarizing.
polarizing, because you either think it's really awesome or you think it's like lame.
Hmm.
But I would say there's more people that think it's super awesome. And so Carnage was saying Plur is dead. There was this whole thing saying like that's not what raves are about anymore, and festivals have moved on basically. And we were getting told that we needed to, if we wanted to keep working with this mentor, we had to get rid of our name because it was ruining his career. And we decided to drop him,
Oh, of course.
drop all
Yeah.
that idea of Plur is dead, and we're like, if Plur's gonna be dead, we're gonna keep it alive. We're gonna
There
be
you
the
go.
ones to keep it alive. Like if that's our job on this planet, I'm okay with that. And
Yeah.
so we decided to keep the name. And honestly, it's been nothing. I mean, it's not been easy, but it's been steady evolution and growth for us. And I mean, we have 36,000 social followers now. It's not like a tremendous amount, but it's enough to say that hey, there's people that like this,
Definitely.
and it's definitely worth keeping our name and like we want to be the champions of that cause of Plur and bring it beyond. Our kind of goal is bringing it beyond the rave.
Yeah, we're kind of, I guess, champions of the underdog. Like, it would be really easy. Like, both of us are pretty smart dudes, so like we could probably come up with some slick branding that's, like the dubstep team or whatever it is, that's
Just some totally just
slick. We always joke that if we were dubstep guys, we would go by as trash compactor and garburator.
like perfect dubstep sounds right there.
So like we could come up with something like that,
But
but
there's
like
not like any soul to us. And honestly, we
Definitely.
talked about some of our favorite artists, and Pretty Lights is number
yeah,
one.
definitely at the top of that list for sure.
And so
Yeah.
he keeps the soul in his music. So for us, that's like a huge part of it for us is that it's just like make music that has a meaning, has a mission behind it.
Hmm.
That's also maybe somewhat commercially viable where it could be popular, but mainly that the music has soul to it. That
Definitely.
it has this its own essence where maybe it yeah maybe sounds like this other dubstep song, but it's got like a little bit different. It's got
Hmm.
some heart to it. It's got some weight in what it's trying to say, as opposed to just being crazy noises. which I get down on the crazy noise headbanging stuff as well. So yeah, I think it's good that, there's artists out there that are doing a little bit of everything, and we just hope to kind of add to that community fabric of EDM, is because one of the things that we always love about EDM is that it's like being in a band, you're making a song for yourself and your fans, but with EDM, you're making a song to add to the community where other DJs could play your song and kind of feel
Remix
what
it.
it's like to make that song and feel what it's like to drop that song on a crowd.
Or they remix
Yeah.
it, or people are using it in their flow videos, or like our clothes, like people are wearing our clothes to shows or making videos,
It's a
or
very four-dimensional thing with dance music, and I've always thought that was super cool over just being in a band and making songs. Is
Yeah.
that people like to use like play with the people play with the songs just as much as you do, which is pretty rad.
Excuse me. Yeah, that's really interesting actually that you guys bring up that point about having substance behind Plur and like you of course like yeah you made a great point like of course you can just switch up and like make dubstep and just like tune little things here and there and then start sounding like dubstep but like feeding into the Plur and you saying that it has a lot more substance like that's how you're going to connect to fans if you're just creating something that is just sounds like something over and over again and just sounds like the same song just mixed different here and there um it's like it's the same thing that people say with like that's why I don't know if you guys are familiar with Virgil Abloh but he goes he's the head designer at Louis Vuitton and he said streetwear is dead and everyone like freaked out they're like same thing with like Plur is dead and everything everyone freaked out and they were like what do you mean and basically what he just means is that you can make a t-shirt but you can't connect to the fan you can't connect to who like you could just throw an image on a t-shirt but it like to take your time and to really put thought and just energy into something like you guys do with your music and the EDM you're making somebody feel something like it's as if someone is like you said connecting and they feel part of a bigger community like that's all anyone really wants is to feel like they belong and to feel like they're in a community so
Absolutely.
being champions of Plur you're basically saying like hey we're all in this together this is a shared human experience and let's Plur together like if we all have the same mentality why would we not all band together so that's
In
honestly
2020, is Plur not needed now more than ever?
exactly oh totally with everything that's going on yeah I totally agree and releasing all the music that you release and backing yourselves with just Plur as a movement is great. You take yeah like you said you take it out of it just being a political or whatever it may be like how people like polarizing statement and you're like no like this is it's an energy it's a movement but it's a positive movement that everyone even if you don't realize it you want to get behind just because of what it stands for peace love unity and respect like as simple as it is so I can see it in your, I can hear it in your music. I mean, I can see in the clothes you wear, like it doesn't, it like, of course you guys design those clothes, but then again, it just kind of brings together all of ED, like everything that as part of EDM, the whole colors, the lights, the just the like the design and everything. So yeah, I mean, you're definitely contributing to a larger community and it definitely shows, especially with the amount of following you have and the great music that you guys are coming out with.
And that's honestly why, we just released a kind of a more bass music album, but right before that we released a all house music and techno album. And so over the next, few years, you'll see us kind of tackle every genre, including a couple that we kind of made up on our own to add to that fabric of EDM. And we just never can feel like, oh, we can't just be just house or just dubstep.
Definitely.
Being Plurthlings, we have to kind of make all music that identifies with Plur, and
Hmm.
that's what we've always wanted to do, and that's why it was the perfect name for us. It's just
Yeah.
we love trance, we love bass music, we love hardstyle, happy hardcore, drum and bass, moomba tone, glitch hop, like the list goes on and on and on and on. Like I have yet to find a type of electronic music that I don't like because you know how everyone kind of says, "Oh, I like all music except country." I even like
Yeah.
some country. Like there is music in every genre if you seek it out that's really good.
Yeah,
And there's
definitely.
also music that's terrible. And if you just identify with the terrible music, oh, I listened to one terrible song, that means country's bad. Yeah, you need to check out some Willie Nelson or
For
John
real.
Denver.
Yeah, I mean,
There you go.
and we even have a John Denver remix that we're working on for Rocky Mountain High.
Eh,
It's our goal. It's our number one goal to play Red Rocks in our lives, and we want to drop the Colorado theme song. Red Rocks.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely don't want to pigeonhole yourself. I've talked to many producers, interviewed many the producers that we have on the show, and they're like, you don't want to like. There was one guy who we had. His name is Killen Void, and he was talking about how he kind of started modeling his music after his name, just real dark, just like Killen Void. Like everything is being sucked in. Like it's just dark energy. It's just, I mean, it's fun to listen to. But he's
Yeah,
like, I was trying to do something where it was a little bit darker, a
super
little bit more
heavy.
exactly. There you go, super heavy. And I was asking him like, hey, is that difficult? Like, I mean, your name it, like literally matches with your music. Like, how do you feel like that's gonna? Do you feel like that's gonna restrict you? Like what's the deal? And he's like, honestly, I just make what I feel would sound right. And he's like, and a lot of the times it goes literally exactly with my name. He's like, there may come a time where I want to branch out and I want to try something new that may not go with my name. Might be a little bit happier, might be a little bit more upbeat. But he's like, for the most part, I try not to pigeonhole myself because I lose a lot of inspiration and I just lose a lot of it's like you're closing off a door that you need open in order to get inspiration and just like a new sound from that you may need. So
Yeah, sometimes we go in the studio with an idea of like, oh, we want to make a song like that new laid back Luke track. That one's fresh, like some nice funky twisted house. And then we go in and it just turns into like deep house or something
Stadium Trap or something.
totally different. And you kind of reach a point in the studio where you go, am I going to keep trying to force what I want to happen, or am
mhm.
I going to just go with what is happening? And I think we've gotten pretty good at just, yeah, well, we wanted to make that, but this is sounding a lot cooler now, so let's just go with this.
Well, and I think one of the things, because we do a lot of mentoring and coaching and stuff with young producers, and one of the things that I see is I don't think people understand that when you're a DJ, you have an hour to tell a story. And, as a producer, you're doing the same thing. You have 3 or 4 minutes to tell a story. And, you know, to touch on the pigeonhole comment is like, if you went and saw Lord of the Rings and it was 3 movies of them being excited that they threw the ring into the volcano, it wouldn't be a great story. Like a great story
Definitely.
has tension and it has villains and it has drama and it has happy peaks and valleys. So I think like as a producer, like regardless of what your branding is, obviously there's something that you need to, you find your own unique sound, but like you need to tell that story. Like there's days where I'm happy and I make happy music, and there's days where I'm pissed off and I make really pissed off music. And a lot of the times like some of the tracks that I love playing are tracks where like I've had a shitty day and I came home and threw together a track in a couple of hours.
And
That's kind
instead of taking it out on someone else or yourself, you take it out
On the
on the
music.
it was
studio.
our track "Alone in the Dark" is one of those tracks. Like I used to do Lyft full time, uh,
Okay.
and I was out driving around, and I was just kind of frustrated that I was out driving instead of working on music, and I was just listening to my Spotify playlist, and I was like, you know what? I can go home and make something like this. And I came home on my lunch break and I threw together a beat and a drop in, like 2 hours right before he woke up. And I was like, yo, I just made this. I got to go back out. And like, I think it's probably one of our heaviest tracks that we have. And, I love it now. But like in the moment, I was just like so frustrated and had like so much angst.
Yeah, it's definitely tracks like that have helped evolve our because like you said, we want to tell a story, and our eventual goal is we want to do some movies with it and stuff.
Okay.
And we find it's really easy to write the theme songs of the heroes and the positive moments and stuff. But over the years, we've kind of struggled being that kind of like what you're just saying, the darker,
Hmm.
heavy, like villainous type music. And I think we've gotten better at that over the last couple of years.
There's been a handful of
Yeah.
experience, that's
Because the villains need a theme song too, or else the
Oh,
movie is just
definitely.
going to be crap.
Yeah.
If there's no conflict, there's nothing that makes you want the hero to overcome it.
You know, you could hear those first three notes of the Darth Vader theme song and know exactly who's about to come into the frame. You know, I see your
Exactly.
shirt, so
Oh yeah,
Yep, big Star Wars fan here.
yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, you hear
George Lucas, number one inspiration.
you
George
don't even
Lucas,
have
there you
like it
go.
could be a black screen and you could hear those horns
You just know
coming and you
exactly
know
who's coming on.
exactly
Yep.
who's coming on. You know, so it's all about
Yeah.
storytelling.
That's. I mean, music. I've thought of music that way, but I never really kind of thought about it in the way that you explained it. That you have a 3-minute window to give us a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I mean, now that you mention it, I see that, and that mentality going into production. Um, I'm sure it definitely makes your music sound a lot more catchy, a lot more interesting, and just more unique because you're like, I'm going to take what time I have and try to make you feel everything that I'm feeling within 2.5, 3, 4 minutes, whatever it may be. But saying it as a story is more interesting than just because like as a kid you're reading a story and you're really I mean even now like you're reading a story, you're reading a book, watching a movie, whatever, and you're really interested because you're seeing all the conflict and you're seeing all like the joys and the highs and the lows and the fighting, whatever it may be. And that's what makes the story a story is everything that goes in together, that you have a problem in the beginning, and then you have a climax where the problem just blows up and you have to deal with the problem. And then you have the end where either whoever it may be, like the problem is just resolved, and you might not live happily ever after, or you might, but either way the
It
conflict
depends
is
on which
resolved.
part of Endgame you're watching, right?
There you go.
If you're watching Infinity War, it's not a happy ending.
No, definitely not. But I mean, it's just that's a very interesting take, and I've never thought of it that way. But now seeing that and understanding a little bit more with your description, I'm gonna start listening to music, and I'm gonna start paying attention to that a little more. See if I can tell the stories that you guys are trying to tell.
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna be posting. So we played a digital festival a couple of weeks ago, and the standout moment in that story is that we're playing a bunch of kind of like positive, like uplifting sounding music, and then it was right after. Do you know who Abraxas is by chance?
Sound I probably have listened to him in
It's
passing.
so it's, you know Seven Lions.
A little bit, yes,
So it's
yes.
Seven Lions and his two buddies, and it's like their
Okay.
psytrance like project. So we mixed an Abraxas track, and it's just like kind of heavy and dark. But the visuals that I put in it for the set, because it's all green screen and it has visuals with
Hmm.
it. I put the Sauron from Lord of the Rings in the visuals, and like it's just like this like heavy dark moment, and there's fire and flames, and it's like not typical of like imagery that you would see from us, but like in the course of telling the story of like the DJ mix, it was like it's kind of funny, and we have a little panda that's in our stage setup. And so like it literally like our stage looks like it's kind of like flying through the cosmos, and we're getting chased by this like evil villain, and like the panda is kind of like falling off the boards. It looks like he's like hanging on for dear life, but like it creates like such a powerful moment because like up to that point it's kind of all lighthearted and
Hmm.
colorful and everything, and then it turns to like this dark heavy music with like flames and like the villain, and it, like introduces like the antagonist of that particular story. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
and
probably think about music way too like deeply
oh,
and
definitely not. No,
critically. Well, I
no.
think most people maybe just go, "Hey, I'm gonna make some music." Whereas like we're like, "How can we tell this story?" And how can we integrate all these missions and ideas? And sometimes yeah, I'd say that's at least one of my shortcomings is what is it? Overthinking.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
But sometimes some things it works. When you're
it all
working
comes.
on all the details of music, overthinking is not so bad. But when it turns into a whole month of working on one song, you're kind of like, all right, dude, just are you done yet?
that's one thing that I've noticed about EDM and just electronic music in general is that DJs and producers do an amazing job, like with the whole set design, telling a story, like with their music, even if it may not be their own music, like they're telling a story because that's their mix. And like you said, they have that hour on stage and they're using that hour to tell their story. And one of my one of my favorite artists is Kanye West, and he is the same exact thing. He analyzed, maybe overanalyze, who knows? It takes forever to make an album. He just like, he does some crazy stuff, but it's like, no, what he's doing is he's telling you a story. He's trying to make you experience something and feel something, exactly like what DJs and producers do, especially with the sets and everything. And yeah, I honestly, it honestly makes me enjoy the music more, because you're like, oh, there's more to it that I can experience. There's a visual aspect. There's like, there's like a little quirky story that maybe you wouldn't have noticed or picked up on had you not seen these elements. So yeah, I mean, what you guys are doing it beautifully. I mean, yeah, I really love the whole aspect of just that, like you mentioned, storytelling and using visuals to help the audience and the fans just understand the music more. So
Well, definitely one of my two top favorite concert moments were one in 2008, seeing Kanye West at 4 a.m. at Bonnaroo on the
oh
Glow in the Dark tour. The infamous Bonnaroo.
oh
I was front row for that, and everyone just couldn't stop complaining about how it took for him forever to get on stage, and they were even graffitiing all of Bonnaroo saying Kanye's son. I was just so pumped. It was probably one of the best concerts I've ever seen. And then it was only topped by what, 2011
2011
Coachella,
Yeah.
where we saw Kanye again
oh, and he showed up late too for
during
that one.
the beautiful dark twisted fantasy
Wow, I
that
can't.
yeah,
Damn, yeah,
Yeah,
that
because
was
he
when it came
started
out.
out like
on the cherry
he was
picker.
like probably like 50 or 60 feet above the crowd in a cherry picker. So like the stage was just dark, and then they hit a spotlight in the middle of the crowd, and it was like, and then he was like in the like,
And then he's like, I used to dream about this back in Chicago. Mercy, mercy me.
Yay.
Mercy, Alago. And the whole crowd just like
That's
goes off. Yeah.
insane. You guys have seen
that
two of
was
like
sick.
the most iconic. You three, the you mentioned the Dead Mouse. Like, damn, you guys are just, your life is a movie, honestly.
Yeah,
Crazy
I
the
mean,
type
it
of stuff that
pretty
you
much
guys
is
win.
like this has been our life, you know, like we've pretty much been present in like a lot of the defining moments. Like I've seen every iteration of the cube that Joel has had. I've seen every iteration of the band that Pretty Lights has had. Um, what are some other standout moments? Like
Prids. Anytime you see Eric
anytime
Prids.
you've seen Eric Prids and Armin van Buren, like, you know, oh yeah, we went
Spangle at Red Rocks.
Bongle at Red Rocks. They're amazing storytellers. I think that's kind of a big part of our
Yeah, we
inspiration.
get it from Spangle. If you're familiar with Spangle,
Not really, no.
definitely we'll send you a track. It's definitely
Yeah.
just like a
Definitely.
whole nother vibe.
I'm
Um,
open.
oh yeah, so
I'm
we
definitely
went
open.
to Ultra last year, the one that
Okay.
Yeah.
everybody hated. We
Okay.
absolutely loved it. We had the best experience ever. So I don't know like what kind of good karma we had going into that, but so we ended up purchasing so they had for like $150 or something. They had a ferry, like so it was a boat that went from Bayfront Park where they usually have it to the island where it was. So everybody was complaining because of the whole bus situation that happened with
Hmm.
Ultra last year. And we like circumvented all of that. So like we were so
On the
stoked to like leave the
boats.
festival, and it was like just like this nice calm boat ride, and like it was like the best thing ever. And then we got on social media the next
Everyone
day
else
and
had like a 7 mile bus ride that they only had like 80 buses for all of Ultra.
Oh,
yeah, and so it turned into a whole fiasco, and people were walking like miles over this bridge, and like we were just like, and I so like this ultra went down as like the infamous ultra that sucked, but like we loved it because there was so much space. Because usually when you go to ultra, it's like in that little park and it's so small,
mhm.
but like it was all spread out, and then they had the techno island, so
Yeah,
they
it was
had
a whole island of techno and it was all beachfront. It was all so
so
cool.
like
Damn.
that, like, you know, we hadn't spent a whole lot of time in the techno community up to that point. And then, you know, we came out of that, you know, with like a whole techno alias, and you know, we were all technoed out. So we actually have a project that's like
Yeah,
strictly
the only type
techno.
of music that we figured we couldn't do well as being Plurthlings was techno. because it's so very specific. Like you want to play a whole set of techno. It's kind of weird if you just sprinkle in techno here and there. We still do that with Plurthlings, but our other alias is called Light Reactive, and it's more just straight psychedelic techno and trance, melodic
Okay.
techno and stuff.
Yeah.
But you'll hear us play a bunch of stuff like kind of between the two.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of why, we are such great storytellers, and why, the brand is so authentic, is because we
We've
are
seen all the best other
they,
stories,
you know,
Dead Mouses. I even caught 5 minutes of Daft Punk in 2007 at Lollapalooza.
Wow.
I'm really
God
really
damn.
bummed that I didn't see the full performance because my friend was just taking forever to get the like I was like, let's go, let's go, let's go. And we just made I got to see like the ending of it.
and it helps too that we live in Denver. So I mean, Red Rocks is in our backyard, so it's,
Oh, of course.
a full summer of everybody delivering
The best, yeah.
the best performance they've delivered in their whole career. So
So definitely, if you make it out to Colorado when Red Rocks is open again, we'll have to take you to Red Rocks. Have
Yeah,
you
I
been?
mean,
Yeah,
I have not, dude. I actually have a friend
got to.
who's from yeah.
It's
I'm honestly
off my
trying to get to
bucket list.
call it to a high key. Yeah, I definitely I want to get out and experience more, especially like this whole summer, like being restricted. I wasn't much of a music festival guy, to be honest, because I don't like big crowds. Especially like especially when you're there for an artist and everyone's just getting really aggressive and really
Yeah.
like because they
Oh my
want to be in the front, and you're like, dude, I understand we're all here for the same reason and we all want to be in the front, but like can we just enjoy like what's going
We all
on?
cannot be in the front.
that's what's one of the
Exactly.
things that makes Red Rocks so cool, is it's stairs. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so it's an amphitheater with stairs. So like they're like,
So it's looking down at the stage
Oh, okay.
from the
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
stands as opposed to looking
whereas
like
like
flat.
the sound is actually better the higher up you get. Obviously, it's louder if
yeah.
you're like right front row, but like the higher up you go, you get the acoustics of
Oh,
like
yeah, everything
the
echoing
mountain
off of.
basically, because like
That's
it
beautiful.
basically work like the way they built that amphitheater is it works like a speaker box. So like
Okay.
literally that entire place is just like shaking. Like
Yeah,
it's
okay.
awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I definitely have to come now. I mean, just I love like when I don't remember who I was seeing. Oh, I mean, Travis Scott, but he's another good storyteller. I mean, with
Yeah.
his whole Astroworld and everything. But yeah, I was there. I was in the pit. I was like right in the front and everything. It was a crazy experience. But yeah, just feeling music and you understanding like just the vibe that they're trying to put out and you like picking up on it is insane. So, dude, I'm honestly the more you talk about Red Rock, the more I'm definitely gonna have to come out and hang out with you guys and I mean, yeah, you guys definitely have to take me out to a show because you obviously know the best storytellers. So I'm definitely trust you with that one.
Definitely. Hopefully Pretty Lights makes a comeback.
Yeah.
He's
Please, Derek, if you're watching this interview, please.
All right, guys, I could sit here and chop it up with you all day. I've had a great time speaking with you. You guys are
Definitely.
really interesting. You guys are probably two of the premier up and coming artists right now. I definitely see you guys with the future.
Thank you.
I have one last question. It's kind of a two-part question. So first part is, what is one thing you would tell an up and coming artist or like just a younger you, like one piece of advice that you would want them to know? And is there anyone you're working with right now or that you're listening to right now that you want to give like a platform or a shout out to?
So I guess something I would say to upcoming producers is be patient.
Yeah.
Like this is obviously
It's a crapshoot, the music game.
there is the chance that you'll meet the right people or you'll make one track and it'll blow up, but it's more likely that that's not going to happen. So, be patient, and if it's something that you genuinely do want to do, strap in and be in it for the long haul, because it's not something that you can just
And you could make it that day as soon as you're like, oh, I'm gonna be patient, and then you might meet the right person that day.
yeah.
But you may not, and it might take 10 years, it might take 15, and you gotta ask yourself, is that what I really want?
Yeah, you got to be in it for the right reasons, because it could
Of
happen
course.
day one, it could happen day 10,000, or anywhere in between, or it could not happen at all. So,
Hmm.
if you have a destination in mind that you need to get to, as an artist, I think you're setting yourself up for failure because you know that the storytelling is it comes from the journey of that process. So
And
Definitely.
then kind of as like a second on that is when I first started, I wish someone told me to go, hey, stop worrying about trying to get gigs to pay your bills. And it kind of goes from the pay, like spend your time in the studio and make, because it took me a couple years before I was like, oh, I actually have to get good at producing. I can't just be a DJ and hope and get good at producing after funding it with being a DJ.
Hmm.
And especially this year, gigs are not really it kind of seems like they're the way to money and the way to like sustaining your music career. But when you don't have all the original tunes and the fan base and all the stuff that needs to go into it, it kind of is almost useless. So it's better. I wish I had spent the first couple of years in the studio more than trying to play like little dive bars with my DJ setup and stuff, you know, because I'd probably be a way better producer by now and probably have way more gigs for us just because of spending a couple years up front,
Hmm.
Whereas I figured, oh, I'd get gigs, get paid to be a DJ, and then invest that into being a producer. And it just kind of it could work differently for someone else, but it definitely doesn't work that way for me.
yeah, focus on the studio and
Make songs
create multiple sources of income
and put out DJ mixes instead of like playing so many gigs.
That's true.
because
Because
like
they'll roll in as soon as you got a fan base and as soon as you got original tunes out.
because as everybody has seen, you know, if you are relying on that tour income, you know, it can go away like that.
Oh, definitely.
Pandemics or you know everybody, all the production companies
I
are
don't think anyone was expecting that.
losing money, but you know if you have multiple sources of income in place, you know you start a clothing line, you are doing coaching, you do stuff like this
Hmm.
and that, you know, then you can have fun with your music career and not put the stress, like you said, put stress on your art to make money because that's
Yeah, it ends up not being as good because you're rushing it, you're stressed out.
Definitely.
You're like, I gotta pay my bills this month, and sometimes that's the hard realization is like, hey, in order to pay the bills, maybe I can't do music right now. I need to set myself up for the future so I can. But
Hmm.
and in terms of shouting someone out, I know it's absolutely.
I, yeah, he just hosted the contest that we just won, so he
Wait, hold on,
is
guys. It like totally froze on
Yeah,
my
we
end.
saw that too.
oh, shit.
Sorry about that. Do you wanna you wanna start that over again?
Yeah. I want to give a big shout out to Sir Ivan, aka the Peace Man, because we just did a contest.
Yeah, so he just hosted a contest to help out of work DJs. So he donated $5,000 to the Insomniac Rave Recovery, and then another $5,000 to out of work DJs, and we actually were awarded some of that money. So big shout out to Sir Ivan for supporting
Yeah,
out of
just
work
the
DJs.
overall opportunity. It was just such a unique contest. We knew we had to get involved because his superhero persona in real life is literally Peace Man. And being Plurthlings, we're like, dude, we support this all the
It's a
way. Like,
match made in heaven. And
so
he's got great music. He's an amazing recording artist. He's got
yeah, Billboard top artist.
Billboard hits, and
Oh,
so
okay.
anybody who's watching this, definitely go check out that music.
All right, guys. Could not have said that last point about just making music like better, like just putting out stuff and having multiple and not focusing on the end game because if you don't have the steps to get to the end game, then you're not gonna reach where you're trying to go.
I've just seen so many DJs. I almost made the same mistake. And it could be a mistake just depending on your perspective. Maybe it's exactly what they wanted, but uh, getting local gigs, kind of playing for all the touring artists that come in, but never really having the means to go be a touring artist on their own.
Hmm.
And then eventually it's been 20 years, and you never had time for the studio because you're playing the club Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, resting the rest of the days, maybe even having another job.
Hmm.
Where's the time for the studio in that? And maybe that's not part of the
Exactly.
goal. Because I mean, being it'd be pretty cool to just open up for all the big DJs coming in too. I mean, we don't get those gigs really,
Yeah.
but maybe one day we'll be that DJ
Exactly.
that can come in and kind of be like, hey, let's because we're always down to collab and make music, so
Yeah.
we would love to help out people and the kind of that are playing shows with us that we would actually like. One of our favorite things is to actually make a song with someone that we're playing a show with and then use that song as a bridge to
Oh, okay.
transfer our sets. So
Yeah.
hey, you end your set with the song we made together and then we'll start our set with that song, and it's kind of like a moment where we're
Yeah,
B2B.
we've done that a handful of times. So
Yeah,
And
that's
that usually gets the crowd going pretty good when it's like, this is a new song that, we wrote together, and it's kind of like the set is going from one artist to the other, but it kind of connects it together.
yeah. I mean, thank you guys again for coming on. I really appreciate it. I
Thanks for
can
having us.
almost guarantee you. Yeah, of course. I can almost guarantee you the fans had a great time. We covered a lot of things. We definitely dived into Plur, and I'm glad we did. So thanks, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe on the Rise Music and turn on those notifications. Don't forget to follow Plurthlings on Instagram. That is
Don't forget
all
the
one.
L.
That's true. That's true. Don't forget to stream their music, and we look forward to seeing you guys on the next video. Peace.
Peace, y'all.